on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV here on this beautiful Thursday. The weather is so great over here, and I'm just right outside of Philadelphia. I'm in Camden, New Jersey right now. The weather is great. The birds are chirping, the water's flowing, and today is such an awesome day. Thank you for sharing an hour of your time, first and foremost, to Erica for coming on today. She was kind of a hero for today. I'm just going to put it that way. So thank you, Erica, for being the hero for today. And thank you, everybody watching, because you're here right now for a purpose, whether you know it or not. You've been guided here today just to come and join a community of people where we all come together and we strive to be better than what we were yesterday. So to my people watching, if you don't already know, you're a part of the Positivity Posse right now, so you better act like it. Leave some comments for Erica. Tell her all the great stuff that she's been doing, because you guys need to hear this story. I met Erica today, and I already have, the vibes are immaculate, is what I can say. I already have a great feeling about everything, and we're gonna be free flowing today. So I'm really, really excited. So as you guys already know, I always start out the show with my book right here. You already know, 500 Life's Little Instruction Books. It's 511 suggestions, observations, and reminders on how to live a happy and rewarding life. But today, you guys are going to be disappointed with me, but we're putting this to the side today. We're putting this for the side because something else came up. And I'm going to show you guys the clip, and it's about social media. So, it's one night, I don't even know, it might have been Tuesday night. I was just scrolling through social media at night, and you're not supposed to really do that before you fall asleep, but I did it anyway because I'm still learning on how to eliminate that an hour or two before I go to sleep, but that's a whole separate story. So I saw this clip, and I can't wait to show you guys this clip because it's actually the opposite of everything that we talk about on the show here, and I really want to hear all of your guys' opinions and everything on what you think about this little clip. And Erica, when you come on to the show as well, I want you to talk about this clip because I 100% disagree with this ideology to the max degree. I just don't believe in what this guy says. And I just want to hear, everybody's opinions just to see if I'm missing something, or you can open up a new perspective to me, to maybe I haven't seen before. So I'm going to show you this clip right now. It's only about 30 seconds, maybe, but it's definitely something that I don't hear. You don't really hear about often. So here it is. So let me go back to the StreamYard tab. Okay, you guys can see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it full screen right there, and we're going to hit play on it. So I want to hear everybody's opinion. Listen to what he's about to say.
What are you willing to do? Are you going to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent pursuit of your potential? Are you going to do it? You're not going to do what you love. Nobody does what they love. They learn to love what you do. It's a completely different thing. We're romanticizing somehow, right? This passion and purpose and this entrepreneurial thing. That's bullshit. Literally, entrepreneurship's about making a shitload of money. We live at this vibration, and if you make a lot of money, then go ahead and apply your passion and purpose into making the money. Learn to love what you do. Anyone here can give me anything, and I will love what I do.
Now. I don't know about you guys, but I think, yes, Denise, I agree with that. That's pessimism. So how could you, there's millions of people that live in that vibration, and they live of what he's talking about. They go to work every day. They hate their job. They live at this low frequency. And when you live at that low frequency, how do you expect to receive everything that you want in this life? And how do you expect to go into a job that you hate? Maybe, if you hate the people, and I know hate's a strong word. If you dislike the people that you're around, if you're disliking what you do, how could you possibly expect to receive everything that's meant for you if you're not taking those steps in order to live in that vibrational frequency that is higher and that's going to match all of your goals and all of your dreams? So I don't understand how somebody can sit there and possibly say you have to learn to love what you want to do. I mean, if somebody is, let's say, at the zoo and they're shoveling elephant remains and elephant shit, like, how could you possibly learn to love that? And no disrespect to the people that actually do that. You know, if that's what you enjoy doing, then more power to you. But that's another thing. Lou, you're exactly right. He's projecting his own feelings as facts. There's no basis behind it. And there's millions of people that do what he's talking about, and they absolutely hate everything that's going on in their life, because everything that goes on within your inner reality is whatever happens on your outside reality is a projection of what goes on inside of you as well. So that's just a little clip for the day. I just wanted to hear everybody's opinion, because there's this guy that's going out there, and him as well as many others, millions of people that are just projecting this nonsense. And most of the world has this collective idea and this collective thought, and everybody tries to I can't even speak today. Tries to project their ideas of this negativity onto you, and that's when you start to live at that vibrational frequency, and that's when you start to maybe not love yourself, not love what you do, and all of that is BS. You have to live within the people that think at that higher level, so we can all elevate and be to where we need to be in this world. So that's just a little clip, guys. I want to hear all of your comments. And Erica, I can't wait to bring you on to really project what you feel. If you agree with the guy, please tell me why. If you don't, then I can't wait to hear. Erica, what are you doing, girl? Stop practicing the Reiki. It's time to get on the show. Hey, Erica, how you doing?
I am good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being the hero today. You have no idea. You stepped in kind of last minute and decided to take on this role today. And for that, I'm so grateful and thankful for you. Now, I want you to get right into it. Would you explain your thoughts on that video that I just played for everybody?
When I saw it, I just sat in the background, just like, just shaking my head. Like, no. Very pessimistic. And I feel like when you put money as your main focus, it's just, there's all these limiting beliefs around it. It's just negativity all around it, and you attract what you are. So if you're doing something just for the money, and you're going to attract those kind of people that only care about the money. It's not about working together. And like you were saying too, it's like, if you're in a negative framework, that's exactly what you're going to attract. You know, your outside is literally a projection of what's going on inside. So what he was saying, I was like, oh, that's just bananas.
Thank you for clarifying that for everybody. And yeah, don't listen to that guy. I mean, you know, if you want to, go ahead. I can't tell you what to do, but I would suggest not to, because the people that are really achieving and doing big things in this world, I'm pretty sure they don't have that same ideology. But hey, to each their own. Everybody has their own opinion. And now, Erica, we need to talk about everything with you today. You have an incredible story. And I think you mentioned a little bit earlier that this is the first time that you're doing this on like a live platform to sharing your story.
Yes. Well, I also did divine encounters, but it was more just about the divine experience, where this one is going more into that and how it pretty much shaped everything that I am and the reason why I help women.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming on here and kind of diving deeper into your story, because we have people to help, man. And your story is a great example of overcoming and being triumphant and never giving up. So would you explain, Erica, a little bit about what you do?
Yes. Hey, everyone. I'm Erica Vargas. I'm the founder of Fearless Woman Rise. I'm a shamanic Reiki master teacher and psychic medium. And my soul's mission is to help women get to the root core of their suffering so that they can transform their pain into power. And as a sexual abuse survivor, I've struggled with alcoholism. I suffered in silence for over 20 years. I suffered from depression, and it was the holistic healing practices that I did that I was able to overcome all those issues. And now I understand that by using my pain, it's helping transform women's lives. It is my purpose. My pain is my purpose, and that's why I help other women.
Wow, amazing. Beautifully said. And I'm so excited for you to be here today. So now I want you to explain kind of your journey, how you found out about the whole Reiki idea, and what made you actually believe in it, and why you decided to pursue this career for you?
As I was telling you earlier today, I actually have a master's degree in forensic science. So when I tell people I'm a scientist, they're like, science and spirituality? Aren't those two separate entities? How? Like, how did you put them together? And one of the things I tell them, I was like, my daughter was my miracle child. Like, she really was. She was the person that saved me. And it wasn't until I became pregnant that I had to put the whole party lifestyle away. Like, no more drinking. You have to do better for the sake of your daughter. And my friend went through a very unhealthy breakup, and she introduced me to the law of attraction. And from there, it was like, that was the spiritual door opening for me. But when I first heard of Reiki, if some of you do not know, Reiki stands for spiritually guided life force energy. It has its roots from Japan, and it was founded by Dr. Mikao Usui. And it's an energy healing technique that helps you remove blockages from the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. When I first heard of this, I'm like, man, there's no science. I don't believe this. Like, the only reason why I found out about it was because my daughter's father went to massage therapy school, and he learned about Reiki through extra credit curriculum. Mm-hmm. And he decided to get certified. And I remember he's like, I see aura. And I'm just like, dude, you're crazy. Like, okay, whatever. You do your thing and I do my thing. And when my daughter was about 1.5 years old, we went on a trip to the lake. And when we got back a day later, she was sick. And we went to the doctor, and she had a bump. It looked like a spider bite. And the doctor took a swab of the infection and was like, you got to do the rest at home. And I'm like, what? We got to do this? Okay. We went home, him and I, and we're doing what the doctor said. And he starts doing symbols in the air and Reiki. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing Reiki. All right, fine, whatever. Just do whatever. At that point, I was just so upset. I was like, okay, whatever. I noticed my daughter started to calm down while he was doing Reiki. The next day, the wound was healed. That was it. It was just like, you couldn't even tell there was like an infection there. And I was just like, what the hell just happened? I had to learn everything about this. And from there, I found out there was a class in the town next over. And I went in. I went into that classroom, and I became certified as a Reiki level 1 and 2 practitioner. And during that day I was taking that class, I got a phone call from the doctor saying my daughter had MRSA. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm like, you know, you never want to Google something the doctor tells you because it's going to freak you out. And I did that. And so now I'm freaking out, crying in my class. And my Reiki master, Dr. Phyllis Bucci, she's a holistic, she owns Holistic Apothecary. She's a holistic doctor. And she's like, the doctors are not going to tell you this. Get colloidal silver. It's a natural antibiotic. Put this on your daughter and do Reiki on her every single day. I did it on my daughter for that year. And when she went back to the doctor, she no longer had MRSA in her system. So it was, I was my daughter's healer. That's why I needed to be in the position that I was, because not only did she save me, I had to save her.
Wow, and that truly is an incredible story. And I like how you said at the end, you two, it was a balance between each other, between you two, just to help each other out, and that it truly is amazing. Now, when you go to study Reiki, right, are there different types of Reiki? And you know, if there are, why did you choose the shamanic version of the Reiki or the discipline?
With Reiki, there's at least 3 different types. There's the Usui Reiki, which is the traditional Reiki. I always tell people, you know, go for that first. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a requirement before you move on to the other levels of Reiki. There's Karuna Reiki, which I am Karuna Reiki certified level 2. And there's also Holy Fire Reiki. And they're all different in terms of the energy that they bring in. And for Shamanic Reiki, I went on a spiritual trip last year, and I went to an Indian site in New Hope in Pennsylvania. And I was with a friend, and I received a message that I was a shaman. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna roll with this. And since then, I've been using the elementals, not just crystals, but because I'm Puerto Rican and I know with the Taino indigenous culture, we're all about the elementals, you know, using the elementals in the ceremonies. So I incorporate some Taino traditions as well as Reiki to assist in healings.
Wow, that's amazing. Would you be able to give like an explanation on what the elementals are and how they kind of help with the healing process?
Yes. So the elementals, what I call in are the 4 directions. So be north, south, east, and west, as well as the mother, the goddess, which for Taino culture, she's Atabe. And then there's Yokau, which is the divine masculine. And with those two, the divine union, I use both of them in the healing process. I use the sacred music in Taino culture to assist me. But the shamanic journey is really going deep within yourself. I just serve as a guide. That's all I am as a shaman. I'm a guide to assist others in their journey and offer the protection that they're going to need, because it's a deep inner healing transformation that happens. And it's going into the deep middle earth to discover who you really are and letting things go that are no longer serving you and actually retrieving the lost parts of you that you've denied yourself.
Wow, that's amazing. And I want you to talk about the techniques that you can possibly do. I don't know why this is showing up here. Sorry. Would you be able to talk about the techniques in, you know, finding a lost part of yourself, and how do you even how does it even get lost in the first place?
Well, we lose parts of ourselves due to traumatic experiences and things that we've denied ourselves as well. You know, as kids, we're sponges. You know, we take in information from our teachers, from our parents, from our community, from our society. And what happens is it starts programming you to be in a certain way. And one of the things about healing is unlearning. It's literally deprogramming yourself from all the limiting stories that you've ever heard in your life. And also try to find and understand, why are there some habitual patterns? Like there's some things that are so hard to get out of. Like, why do we feel like we're not worthy? Why do we feel like we're not enough? Why do we feel like we're not abundant? Like we don't deserve money, or, you know, in any case like that. And you learn that it's because of all the programmings. And I do a lot of shadow work healing as well, which is what I talked about, is the part that you've denied yourself, a part that you've kept hidden because you felt shameful, you felt guilty. Maybe somebody told you, oh no, don't do that here, society is not going to accept you. You know, me talking about being a shaman or a psychic medium, if I tried that as a kid, it would have been a no-no, you know. So it's going into the parts of yourself that you've denied and the parts that you're so afraid of, the fear part, like understanding why you have that fear, and then relinquish it, because you can't run away from fear. You have to face it.
What now? You said what would be the first step? Okay, let's say if you know, I believe everything that you say, which I actually do, but let's just say I'm going to play devil's advocate here, you know, the opposite end. Let's say I don't believe in anything that you're saying, and you know, I was like, okay, like maybe just because I want to try something that Erica is saying in the first step of healing, what would be the first step that I should take in order to really begin my healing process?
One of the things I always do is I schedule at least a 15-20 minute call with somebody before we even do anything. And I ask for permission. Like, would you allow me to check in with the spirits to see if it's okay to see how I can help you? And usually when I get an okay, I start channeling. I just start channeling the higher power. And I'll tell them, oh, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I see. And most of the time, the people are freaked out on the phone at that point. And they're like, what? And the spirits, they will assist me in a sense where they'll give a little taste of what it is. So I don't just go and be like, oh, hey, just book with me and that's it. I want to get to know somebody and build that relationship with them to see how we can move forward, because it's different for everybody. You know, sometimes someone thinks they need a reading and I tell them, nope, you need a healing. You know, this is what you need. This is what the spirits are telling me. So I'm really spiritually guided. Everything is intuitively based. I usually don't know what's going to happen until I'm on the phone call.
Wow. That's amazing. Just to not come up with it on the fly, but to open yourself in that exact moment to help other people I guess on the fly, but you get what I'm trying to say. When you have no prior knowledge and you're saying things to these people that they're like, how the could you possibly know that? There's just no way of denying it. Did that ever happen to you when you first started everything, where you had an encounter with maybe a spiritual teacher of yours where you're like, there's no way that this person could have possibly known that? Would you be able to talk about that experience if you've had one of them?
Oh, definitely. And one of the experiences, how I discovered I was a medium. So this was probably about 2-3 years in my journey. And I did an expo to do readings. And a man comes and tells me, he's like, you need to meet with that person. I said, okay, I guess. And I went and I met with that person. I just felt like I was just being guided. So I just kept, following that intuitive hit. She guided me to another person, and I found a spiritual center called the Being One Center. And I started doing psychic reading nights there. And I didn't know I was doing a reading on the owner of the Being One Center. And she's of Puerto Rican descent as well. And then she looks at me and she says, my sister needs to talk to you. She has a message for you. I was like, okay. I just was like, I walked away and I'm like, I have no idea what this is going to lead me, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I just got this intuitive hit, like, Erica, you got to go. I went to the class and her name is Leslie. And she looks at me and she says, stop using your tarot cards. They're blocking you from what you can tap into. And I was like, what are you talking about? She says, you're a medium. Yeah, no, I'm not. Like, I don't believe that. And she says, that's why you hear all the voices. It causes you anxiety and you feel chaotic. Like, you can't think straight. And I'm like, okay, I never said anything about having anxiety or all these like chatterings going on in my head. So, okay. And then she says, and your grandmother's a medium. I looked at her so blown away. I was like, what? And my grandmother passed away when my mom was 4. So my mom has no recollection, background, any information. She said when she tried, my grandfather would just shut down. So she gave up. And through that, I was like, okay, I have to know more because there's something in this. Like, why was it hidden from the family? I got to figure this out. And I went to my godmother and I explained to her. And she's like, oh, yeah, grandma used to do Mesa Blanca. And I'm like, okay, you say that so casually. And she said, she was like, yeah, I was supposed to pass this on, but I'm too vindictive, so I don't do it.
Okay, yeah, just like that, straight out. Okay.
Just like that. I mean, my family's from New York. It's, to the point. Yeah. There's no turning corners. It's like, yeah, this is what our family did. Shadow people were normal when we were children. And I'm like, yeah, Titi, that's not normal.
Yeah. There was one phrase that you just said, and when you were going through everything, like you would just kind of go along with it because you said that you wanted to follow your intuition. Do you think that people nowadays have a big problem with following their intuition?
I certainly believe so. I feel like whenever you second guess yourself, you're going against your intuition, no matter what. Like if you feel guided to something and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know, let me talk to a friend. I don't know. And then that friend offers an opinion. Now you got all this confusion. It's like, what path do I take? So I drive my sister crazy with this because she'll call me for opinions all the time. And I'm like, what does your heart say? Because when we ask people for their opinions, I mean, it's okay every once in a while, but we give our power away when we do so. So that's why it's not always good, in a sense, to second guess yourself and ask somebody for their opinion, because then you can cause chaos and confusion within your own space.
Wow, that's amazing. And I never even thought about it like that, giving away your power. what are some of the most famous? Well, I don't even want to say famous. You know what? Christopher just came up with a question, and he whenever he speaks, it's something serious. So I kind of want to just go right into it. How would you get started with tapping into intuition, and how can you tell it's actually intuition and not something else? See, I mean, this question is absolutely fire. Thank you, Christopher, for commenting that. Every time you speak, it is absolutely amazing, and everybody needs to clean their ears just to listen to what you have to say. So thank you for that. And go ahead, Erica. The floor is all yours.
One of the things I do in tapping into your intuition is play. Play, dance, have fun, tap into your inner child. I think that's one of the things we forget as we get older. As an adult, it's like, be a grown-up. You know, you have all these grown-up responsibilities. We forget in playing sometimes. And so one of the things that I do, especially with my own kids, I have cards where it's like a star, a heart, a moon, a sun, and I'll have them flipped over. And I'm telling them, okay, which card is the sun card? Literally playing guess who?
Yeah.
You know, playing with that, because when you tap into your inner child, if you get it wrong, that's okay. Intuition is something that you have to practice. It's something that you have to build on. So playing around is one way, you know, guessing with cards. What number is it going to be? You know, play with a stack of cards, a 52 deck card, and just flip a card. What do you think it's going to be? You know, that's one way you can tap into your intuition. Meditation is so important because you have to have a clear mind. That's one of the inner hints that I feel like when I'm struggling with something and those voice chatterings are going on in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to step back because I can't hear the message clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll step back, I'll meditate, and I usually hear what it is that I need to hear at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like tuning away from the chaos is the best way to tap into your intuition.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's a big thing that we always preach about here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV is to always meditate. Before, I didn't know what meditation was. I didn't know how powerful it can be. So one of the apps that I decided to use is actually Synctuition. It's an app where it has many great benefits. I'll just put it like that. So if you're on the more the tech side for meditation, I would recommend that app. Erica, what would you recommend to people for meditations that don't have, like, let's say they just want to throw their phone to the side? What are some of the things that they can practice as far as meditation?
In terms of meditation, I use a lot of music. I actually have a Native American sound drum. I'll just drum, you know. One of the things I do is I try to get out of the house. I feel that nature is healing. So one of the things that works best for me is going to a park where there's water. I love to be next to the water. It feels cleansing. It brings me peace. I feel like I'm in some sanctuary when I'm in those spaces. And that's one of the things that really, really helped me. Just going outside, you know, placing your feet in the ground and just hearing the birds chirp. I'm like, wow, there's things I never even noticed before, you know?
Wow.
So I do feel nature, it can really, really help out.
Thank you so much for that, because this is the stuff that, you know, I didn't even think about doing that. Actually, Dominique had to be the one, you know, the one that connected us together. She had to be the one to tell me, like, listen, when you go to wake up in the morning, make sure you step outside and put your feet in the grass.
Yeah.
And she also gave me a grounding technique. You know, as soon as you wake up in the morning, what I like to do now is I go outside. And another benefit, a little side note, when you go outside, make sure you look at the blue in the sky, because once you look at that blue in the sky in the morning, your brain and your body stops producing that chemical to make you more tired and produce. It might be melatonin, but I don't want to give that exact term. So I'm just going to say the chemical that makes you want to stay asleep. When you see that color blue, it just stops it so that you're able to wake up easier and cleaner. So the grounding technique that she gave me was to look at, imagine like a rose bush on the floor, and you know, you're imagining it, and what you do is you start to water it so that when it comes up, it's like around you and it's protecting you from anything that could happen during the day. And now I've been trying that. So anything that any energy that tries to sneak in and try to take away, the enemy or the opposing force, whatever you want to consider it, it kind of negates that. And to know that I'm protected. So that's just a little tidbit for you guys for today. And right now we're a little bit past the halfway point of the show already. It's been flying. I thought this was all 5 minutes. It's been going by so quick. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, hear a word from our sponsors. And Erica, once you come back, we're going to dive more into your story and how you overcame everything that you overcame, because it has been a lot. So don't go anywhere. Make sure that you're sharing the video, leaving your comments, leaving your questions for Erica, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you. That was just a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you to the sponsor for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And now, Erica, here, I have a few questions written down actually before the show. And everything that we talked about actually had nothing, well, it didn't even come within these questions. So we have another half of great content, and I'm just so excited for it. Thank you again for everybody watching, if you're watching live or on the replay. So Erica, there's just so much to talk about. But I know one of the biggest things that you went through and that you had to overcome was a previous toxic relationship. And there was a term that you mentioned when you were explaining, everything that happened in the relationship, and the term was red flags. So before I ask you this question, I just want to say, oh, it says I look darker. Oh, well, I went to the beach, so maybe that's what it is. No, so I believe that everybody sees red flags in the beginning of a relationship, but they're maybe infatuated with the person or the idea of loving that they choose to ignore it. And then when they start to recognize it and actually admit that it is a red flag, then I just believe it's too late. So would you explain what red flags are and what people can do in order to see it and acknowledge them?
For me, red flags, I feel like that's just God giving you a sign. Some of the things that I've noticed in that previous relationship that I didn't notice before was when we first started talking, he was like, oh, I was having problems with this, girl, and we're not really together. And like, he was kind of saying like, oh, but I really like you, but again, I was only 21. I said I was 21 and dumb. Where I became infatuated because we had so many things in common. Mm-hmm. And I had all these red flags before. And I'm like, okay, when he did what he did, I'm like, how did I not see that sign? And maybe he did that to someone else. Maybe I was in that shoe. But there's all types of red signs. You probably see that, they're saying, oh, do you really like to drink? Probably they have an alcoholism problem, and you're like, oh, it's okay, whatever. There's little tad bits that I feel like God gives you a sign, and it's if you choose to listen or don't listen. And you have to really know what you want. I think that's the key. You have to really know what you want and really be firm with that, because when you go against what you want, you're going to bring in something you don't,
Yeah, and there was another thing that you just mentioned when you bring in the things that you don't want. You mentioned the law of attraction, right? And when when you're not healed properly, and you start to go into relationships, or whether you're meeting friendships or coworkers, you start to attract the people that you don't want into your life.
Exactly.
When it comes to healing for a relationship, do you have any techniques or any advice? Actually, I'm going to skip to a whole new question because this one just came as a download. Thank you. So if somebody is in the middle of a toxic relationship right now, what advice would you be able to give them in order to maybe escape it, or to try to make it better, or just, take the step that they need to leave that toxic relationship?
I work with a lot of abusive women. And one of the things I tell them, if a man is verbally, it can go both ways, man or woman. But if someone is verbally abusing you, calling you stupid, calling you dumb, really putting you down, it's just as bad as physical abuse. Okay. And if you're in that kind of relationship, get out, find support. There's a lot of things that, weren't available 15, 20 years ago that we now have. I do know there's centers to help women. I do know, how I got out of my toxic relationship. I had friends, I rented a bedroom in a 5-bedroom house, and it was me and my daughter sleeping on a mattress on the floor. And I did that for 8 months. And it's like, get out as quick as you can and make yourself a priority. Love yourself, have compassion for yourself, because I know one of the things, I was beating myself down, like, how did I allow myself to be in something like that? And it's like, no, it's okay. You needed that in order to understand how to break free from the cycle. Because what I didn't realize was I was going through this cycle for years, not just with that toxic relationship, even previous to that. And I didn't recognize it until I had enough. Mm-hmm. So it's like bringing awareness to yourself and seeing, oh, wow, like I really have to make some changes in my life, and putting yourself a priority. Loving yourself unconditionally for every experience that you have, because no experience, is bad in my opinion. It's either you learn a lesson from it and you take away and you move on with that. You really have to work on loving yourself and understanding that you're not your life circumstances, and they don't have to control how you live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. And I could even take it in the way that this is how I took what you just said. You're really not a product of your environment. And I kind of like to say that with, I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, and, we're not the nicest neighborhood. We're not the friendliest. We're not the richest. But a lot of kids, that grew up in here, they turn to the streets, and, whether it's gang related, drugs and stuff like that, you don't have to turn that way. And it's the same thing that you just said. Just because you're living in that moment in time doesn't mean it has to be that way forever. Once you take that first step of loving yourself, that's when you start to see the big changes in your life. Do you have any tips that somebody can practice right now abusive relationship, toxic relationship, or not, if they just want to genuinely learn what the first step is in loving themselves, what advice would you give to that person to take that first step to love themselves?
Oh, there's so much on that.
Yeah.
One, creating boundaries. I feel like boundaries is one of those things. Do it with your kids, your family members, everybody. Creating boundaries. You really have to be aware of who's taking your energy, first of all. And that's what I'm saying. Like, awareness is the first key. You need to see who's stripping you from your energy. Who do you feel tired around? Who do you feel negative around? Take a look at your circle. What kind of people are you hanging around with? These are all going to give you the key into moving on to that next step, because you have to bring awareness. Without awareness, you can't make any changes, you know? So then from there, one of the things that really helped me through all of this was support. Finding people who wanted to do better, you know, finding people who wanted to have, like, pursue their dreams. And I would look for healing centers, actually, to assist me in my healing journey. So you have to find your people. You have to find your crowd. And it's not always going to be your inner circle. It's not always going to be your family. Sometimes they're not even going to understand what it is that you're going through. So I think it's so important to find your people that's going to support you, but also creating boundaries. No is now my favorite word. I'm not going to lie. It was very hard for me in the beginning, especially to my kids. But no became one of my favorite words. And especially with family, because they'll guilt you into like, oh, but you know, your family. No. If someone's telling you no, say no. And don't feel bad for saying no. By saying no, you're protecting your space. You're protecting your energy, and you're not giving your power to someone else. And you'll start to see when you put boundaries, especially when I put boundaries against my toxic ex, he was fighting me. Like, when I mean fighting me, like, he would try everything to try to make me feel small. And the more I was like, no, I'm not going to allow you to step on me anymore. I'm not going to allow you to make me feel small anymore. You know, so boundaries are one of those things where you'll start finding out who those narcissistic people who's been stripping you from your energy.
Wow. And you heard it here first from, you know, from a very strong authority that's been through it. And now everything's on the up for Erica. And now you're in this protected space. And I can feel it even during, you know, the conversation right now. This is just the positive energy is just flowing from within you and out into the world. So we appreciate that. We commend you for it, because it's not an easy journey.
No.
And as far as you know, these support groups, do you actually have one yourself that you run?
I do. I have the Fearless Women Rise group. I have a Facebook group, and also with Meetup. I don't know if you ever used Meetup, but I host classes there, and the support group is every Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll start that up again next week, because I am taking some classes. And so, yeah, I want to create a space where people can come and have a safe and sacred community where they can air out their truth. Because talking about sexual abuse or abusive relationships is not an easy topic to talk about at all. And I want to create a space where people don't feel judged. I know what it's like to feel judged. You know, someone told me they didn't even believe my story when I first told them. So I want to create a space where it's like, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to make you feel guilty for your experience. We're all here. We're all here to heal and grow together.
And another thing too that I want to add to that is, a lot of people think that they go through these problems and that these problems are only specific to them. I'm going to let you guys know something right now. Your problems are not special. You're the one that is special in the situation. There's so many other people that have experienced the same thing that you have, whether you recognize it or not. So there's really nothing to be ashamed about. The first step, you should be focusing on getting that help. You shouldn't be focusing on feeling bad for yourself, feeling embarrassed. That really is not a factor, because there's so many people that go through the same things. Like, as far as, you know, guests coming on the show, there have been some, pretty incredible stories that people have grown through and rise them. Yours being one of them, Erica. And I started to hear like this repeating pattern, like for a lot of people that I meet, and I'm like, okay, like, that's nothing new. I've heard that before. So that's just my little tidbit when it comes to that is, please don't feel like you're the only person that's going through it. Like there are people out there that have gone through it and have grown from it. So don't feel embarrassed or don't feel ashamed. Go get some help. And help can be, like you said, it can be meditation for yourself. It can be, going to Erica's group or whatever you need to do to take that first step. Please do it. Do not feel bad. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. Now, Erica, when it comes to, women in the world, what do you think is one of the biggest problems that women face nowadays?
I feel like women face, it's really the love issue, the self-love issue. I don't feel like, especially women my age, we're guided in how to love ourselves. And trying to see how to word this. With nowadays, it's like a woman not only is the wife and the mother and the work, it's like we're always giving our cups to everyone else. We're always giving water from that cup to everyone else. And by night's end, we're wondering why we feel so tired. We're wondering why we feel so drained. We're wondering why, oh, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel loved. A lot of the times is because you're not giving that love to yourself. The reason why you don't feel love is because you're not giving love to yourself. The more that you can give love to yourself and fill your cup, it will be overflowing. And then sharing that love with everybody else will be like, okay, my cup will always be filled. I don't have nothing to worry about. I have so much love, I can give it to everybody around me. Mm-hmm. And like I said, with women, I don't feel like we take care of ourselves enough. Mm-hmm. And I see that with my mom to this day. Like my mom has been in her job for over 20 something years. And she's still working 50, 60 hours a week sometimes. And I'm like, wow, when you want to do something for yourself, take a trip, do this. And it's just, that's the mentality. It's like, work hard. That's pretty much it. Like, work hard. You gotta give to everybody else. And I feel like women, like, you really have to take time for yourself. Take a bath, go get a massage, make a spa day, go hang out with your girlfriends. Do it often. Don't be ashamed for doing it.
Yeah.
And also, when you're in a relationship, schedule date nights.
Yeah, and those are some of the things that that are very important. And I feel like this is just from my perspective. When a guy or when a man says no, like it's really not a big deal. They're like, okay, like yeah, that's fine. But I feel like when women say no, it's kind of like, oh, like she's being excuse my language, but I'm gonna tell you how it is. Oh, she's being a bitch right now, or she's being very self-centered and stuff like that. But no, like, why are you not entitled to say no? You know what I mean? Just because you're a woman? No, that's nonsense. That's back in the day thinking. That's all expired and ancient. Don't be afraid if you're a woman or if you're a man or anybody watching this right now. Learn to say no because you're protecting your creative space. And how important do you think it is in protecting your creative space when it comes to living in your vibrational frequency?
I feel like it's extremely important. I make time for myself every single day just to ground myself, collect myself. And I tell my kids, nope, I'll put in my headphones. I'll put in my headphones and tune them out. Like, this is mommy's time. All right, guys? Like, because I like to, like I said, I like to fill my cup first. First thing in the morning, get my energy up, get my energy going, taking care of myself, meditating, doing whatever exercises I need to do, filling my cup first. And then I'm like, okay, I feel better about the rest of the day. I feel like when you set yourself for the first thing in the morning, every single day, your day just flows better. Mm-hmm. If you're waking up grogginess and like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed, oh, I hate work, you're going to go to work with that same kind of energy.
Yeah, seriously. And one of the big things too that I recently started doing as far as like starting the day with positive energies, I'll look up motivational videos on YouTube. I'll read this book. I'm actually reading the book right now. It's right here, Grow Rich with the Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And there are like great affirmations in here that you can really learn. And this book is very, very great. I mean, I'm only a few pages in, not a few, but like 20 pages into it. But the stuff that they talk about is absolutely amazing. So go, if you guys have something that you want to read, go pick up a book and go find out more about something that you want to learn about, whether it's Reiki, whether it's personal development, just positivity, go read The Secret. That was, Erica, just like something that you said resonated with me. Just like how you said the law of attraction was your opening door to your spiritual journey, mine was actually the same exact way. Christopher said it again. Also eat more healthy. You are what you eat. And that goes for the physical, whether your diet is good or bad, but that also goes for your social media consumption as well. If you're looking at all this negative, media and stuff like that, you're going to become that. And, shout out to Dominique one more time. I actually had an energy party with her, and the angels or the universe or the higher calling, whatever you want to call it, they pulled the diet card on me twice. They said, Dano, you're eating like crap. Like, you need to change that. So thank you, Christopher, for that confirmation as well. Erica, as far as social media, how do you use social? Actually, you know what? We only have a few minutes left, and I want to talk about you. Why did you start Fearless Women Rise? Here it is, fearlesswomenrise.com. And what do you hope to gain out of this?
I started it about a year ago, and it was actually at Dominique Rivera when she had How. And I started women empowerment circles. That's how I got started. And I started just hosting it, holding space. And I started noticing all these patterns, even patterns in my own life, where I'm like, wow, if we can come together as a community and help each other heal, it is that much more powerful. I don't know what it is about being in a woman's circle that is just like being together. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the energy is so phenomenal. That support is so phenomenal. And there's been some huge transformations. And since then, I was like, you know what? I actually heard the word Fearless Woman Rise from Spirit while meditating. And I was like, I'm going to do this.
Amazing. And thank you for all the work that you've been doing, because I know this stuff makes a difference in these people's lives. And so there's one more question that I have for you, because we only have a few minutes left on the show, and this has flown by. I don't know like how you've been feeling, but this has been so great for everybody watching, and for me included. I've learned a lot. So for the final thought for today, if there's anybody watching this right now and they're in the deepest, darkest time in their life, what advice or what is one thing that you want them to take with them in their lives today after this program ends?
If you're in a very deep and dark space, you have to deliberately try to find the blessing in the dark. And don't give the dark so much focus. Focus on that light. And like I said, my daughter was my light. As much as I was going through what I was going through, I held on to that light so tightly that I was like, I'm going to get through this. And I would do gratitudes every single day. What am I grateful for? Sometimes we take the little things for granted. And it's like simply having a roof over my head, having food that I can feed my daughter. That was what helped me through the darkness. And like we talked before, getting help. It's so important to find a support community, because I would not be here if I didn't have, Dominique, going to her center to meditate, to connect with other people. The Being One Center was a huge help. My Reiki masters, I have 2 of them. Being with them helped me through all this process. I wouldn't be here, doing this stuff alone. I have a huge support team that had helped me in my journey. And I had someone to lean on to be like, don't worry, you're going to get through this.
So there it is. Thank you so much for all of that. So if you guys missed it, I'm going to display it again. fearlesswomenrise.com. And Erica is the host and the creator of that. So thank you so much, Erica, for all of your time for today. And just, some final thoughts to what you said. You got to hold on to that light and not focus on the bad, because where focus goes, energy flows. So if you start to focus on these negative things, you're only going to attract more of it, and that's what we don't want. So just by you sitting here right now, you, Erica, to the viewer, me, all of us, we're focusing on these great positive ideas and these techniques to really take our lives to the next level. So this is maybe a first step for you. So I just want to thank everybody for coming here today and taking this first step in order to take their life to the better spot. Thank you, Erica, for being, Erica, you're my hero for today. I'm going to say it publicly. And thank you, everybody, for all of your comments, for all the hearts on the screen, and for being here today. If you know anybody that this may help, please don't be afraid to share that video, because the more that you give, the more that you receive, and the more that you receive, the more you can give. And that's just a form of giving. So I just want to say thank you all for being here today. I know I sound like a broken record saying that, but I really do have an attitude of gratitude. So Erica, thank you so much again for everything. You know, I'm pretty sure we're going to stay in contact with each other, and I can't wait to see what this turns into. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, it was such a great show, and I hope everybody got something from this, and I'm just so excited. Oh, and I forgot, I didn't even put the show opener for the season 1. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. Thank you again, and goodbye, everybody.